NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst you legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight. Hey gang, so I got a new book out. It's called The Upside of Fear, and it's exactly what you think it's about. It's about the good side of, well, getting scared. In it, we talk not only about the science and biology behind fear, but the psychology as well. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from some of the best in the sport. Omar Alhigelan, Jeff Provenzano, Maxine Tate, and so many more have contributed their sometimes terrifying stories to the book to help you overcome your fear. So head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com. You're going to find the link to the book there, as well as the other books. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook right now.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, and a face I haven't seen, well, I've seen recently, but hadn't for a very long time before then, and didn't even realize that I was rekindling a friendship. Who the fuck are you, and what do you do?
I am Erin Shutes, and what do? I struggled with this question when I was thinking about it last night, and I find that I don't like being defined by my work. I like working and playing, and both are really important to me. So I work in global health. I'm an epidemiologist by training, but like to play hard and struggle to find the balance.
That's got to be a struggle too. I mean, because that type of work would be, I'm assuming, quite intense. So you would want to play just as hard as you're working in the opposite direction, I would imagine.
It's true. It can be intense. There are definitely periods, but has also allowed me to travel around the world and explore and experience new things. I get a lot from it.
This must have been a crazy last 4 or 5 years for you.
It was. I was actually working at the World Health Organization when COVID happened, working in the
Oh,
global malaria program.
really?
Yeah.
Was that, I mean, we won't get too sidetracked because God, I'll have a billion questions that I won't ask. But were for people that are in the health industry, and especially for somebody that was with the World Health Organization when that all went down, were all of you guys kind of like, duh, of course something like this was coming? Or was it a, oh shit, it actually happened?
I guess for me, it was a little bit like, oh shit, it actually happened.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we all knew kind of the possibility, but I'm an optimist. I don't want to think it's happening either, but you prepare for the worst, right?
Sure.
Um, I wasn't in the emergency department, which was the department that was kind of managing the response to that. For me, in the malaria program, we were more worried about how COVID was going to affect the prevention and treatment programs that we were working on.
I,
So it was
I,
putting in stopgap measures to help make sure that those prevention programs continue.
that never even crossed my mind before all the other medical emergencies. I mean, that's really the only way to put it worldwide that must have just kind of taken a back seat to that. That must have been really nerve-wracking for somebody like you that was in a separate field, so to speak.
Absolutely. And we saw the blips in kind of cases and deaths going up, but not as much as we feared, luckily.
Well, that's good. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, well, again, we could talk about that shit for days and days on end. We won't do that. We'll stick to lighter fare. So, how did somebody who has such a an intense job role and one that clearly took many years to get where you're going and lots of education and all this, how do you end up deciding to take up relatively wild and crazy sports?
Hmm. I came by it a bit naturally. My dad did a couple of jumps under a round when I was like 3. I think he landed poorly on his coccyx, and that was the end of it for him.
Uh,
So there was a little bit there from dad, but he never really had the opportunity to explore that. And we weren't really an outdoor family. And so it kind of took me a while to figure out that I like being outdoors and I like doing slightly wild and crazy things that make my mom worry.
I,
Um, yeah.
I love it. That's one of my always my big questions is when you start heading down that road, what does the family think about, outdoorsy stuff to start with and then wild and crazy? How do they handle that?
I think I started gradually, and so then they kind of figured out that I was too far away to really try and stop me, so they might as well just support me. And then I realized that as long as I kind of called my mom when I was done and let her know I was okay, then it was that made her feel better and made me feel better. But
That's
I did
Oh, please
I
go
did my
ahead.
I did my first tandem in Australia on New Year's Day in 1997 when I was backpacking around Australia. Um, and as soon as that parachute opened, I knew that I was going to pursue that on my own and be in control of that. But life kind of took a turn after backpacking. I went to graduate school and then I ended up in Zambia. And who thinks they're going to learn how to skydive in Africa? So I kind of put that aside for a little while and I started motocross racing and dirt bike riding. And I was in this community of largely Australians, kind of diesel fitters that were working on the copper mines in Zambia. And we were planning this road trip down to Namibia for an enduro race. It was like 6 trucks and all these bikes and 20 odd people. And then somebody said, "Oh, there's a drop zone down there." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And so then I got really excited about the drop zone. And it was one of those things where, people just started kind of dropping off, and then it was down to just me and the people that were in my car, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, Erin, you're not going to get down, go down to Namibia and do your skydiving." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I got a truck, I got a couple of friends, I got my motorcycle in the back. We're still going." We had no idea what we were doing.
That's awesome.
So we drove across 3 countries. We drove across the Capri Strip, which at the time had convoys going twice a day. We had no idea. We slept at a border because we didn't realize that they closed from. 'Cause we didn't realize that they closed from 9 to 5. And then we drove across 3 countries. We drove across the Capri Strip, which at the time had convoys going twice a day. We had no idea. We slept at a border because we didn't realize that they closed from 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, we landed down in Swakopmund, Namibia, and kind of turned up the next day, and we're like, yeah, we're ready to do our first jump. They
I
looked at
mean,
us like we were crazy.
that's honestly to all what keeps popping into my mind is that movie War Dogs, where the two guys drive across some of the most dangerous country in the entire world to hand deliver a bunch of guns, having no idea that they had just driven through some of the most dangerous shit ever. I mean, that's exactly what that sounds like.
A little bit. Three women anyway, and we get to the Capri Strip and realize that we've just missed the morning convoy by like 15 minutes. And I'm like, wait, yeah, is there a special fee we can pay where some guy with a gun will sit in the back of the truck with the motorcycle and we can just catch up with the convoy? And my friend's like, Erin, shut up, shut up. And the guy just kind of looked at me and was like, nah, but you can go wait under that tree until the next convoy at 3.
I mean, I love it. That's got to be one of the most unique first jump course stories I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was incredible, and it was a great operation. It's they're still running today. Then I don't know if they still do. I mean, this was back in 2002, so it's been a minute. But they had a lot of overland trucks that would start out in Cape Town and work their way either up to Victoria Falls or up to Nairobi, and so they get quite a few tandems off the overland trucks. And then you get the people who are really skydiving got them, and they just drop off the truck and just stay at the drop zone for as long as they could afford and learn how to jump.
I mean, I can absolutely see that. And I was lucky enough to, I want to say it was probably in 2014. I did an almost month-long safari going from Johannesburg through Botswana and Zimbabwe to Zambia and ending at the falls and doing a bungee jump over the falls and stuff. And people were tripping over themselves for, the next adventure. So I can imagine that a tandem operation in that stunning landscape would just be, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. There's like desert on one side with these amazing sand dunes that then lead down to the beach and this little uh basically German speaking beach town. And you can go, the point was to ride the motorbikes in the dunes, right? But you can go dune surfing and dune buggies, and yeah, it's just adventure heaven.
Now, how was doing a first jump course in a place like that? Because there's so much coming at you from every direction, and then you're, of course, doing your first jump course in this stunningly beautiful place. So, I mean, there's a lot to try and navigate through, as well as learning how to jump out of an airplane.
It was old school. We were doing static lines, no radios. The guys were, on the ground with paddles to kind of tell us, the toggle control. And with the big parachutes, the winds would kick up in the afternoon. So when you're doing your first jumps, you just get a couple in the morning. But yeah, it's beautiful, and they're so friendly, and it was super cheap. I think each jump was like $10. The exchange rate was really in our favor.
How insane is that?
Yeah,
I mean, what the average fun jump ticket now is like $30.
yeah,
Ay,
right.
So with that, when you started your AFF, was that a ask forgiveness kind of thing from mom as well? You're like, so we kind of did this stuff because I mean, driving across multiple countries in Africa is potentially a bit of a sketchy experience just in that.
I've been doing the motorbike thing in Zambia and Zimbabwe already for, I don't know, a year and a half. So she was a bit used to kind of crossing borders to do slightly wild stuff.
Sure.
Um, I don't remember quite how that conversation went down. I probably didn't give them all the details.
Well, I mean, already the fact that you're spending that kind of time doing all this stuff anyway, I suppose. Oh, wait. She's safely in an airplane where nothing else can get to her. She just has to have a parachute to get down. That probably would have been a bit of a relief.
I don't know. She probably just didn't want to think about it.
So now, where during all of this, where is education and work and all that? I mean, are you on a hiatus while you're doing all this stuff, or?
Vacation time. I was living in Lusaka, Zambia at the time, working on an HIV research project. And yeah, so just holiday. We went down, I think it was Easter weekend we got started. Just took a couple extra days and learned how to skydive. And then when we finished, we'd only gotten, I don't know, 6 or 7 jumps in, and we just thought, "Oh, we got to go back before we lose kind of all of the muscle memory. Like we have to go back." So then we did go back, and then I started dating Brune. So then I had more of an experience, more of a reason to go back.
Oh,
Who doesn't start dating their first jump instructor? Such a cliche.
that is a little cliche, but you kind of win the story just in how you got into it in the first place.
Yeah,
So,
I guess so.
I mean, yes, dating your first jump instructor is definitely cliche, but not when it's in Africa after all those stories. I mean, that's pretty damn unique. I think that's a free pass on that one.
Okay, thanks.
So, did you
Well, then
find, I was gonna
yeah.
say, did you find that the it was a nice balance then between the very intense work, especially there that you were doing, and being able to go get that kind of a release?
Absolutely. And I think that's why I need that balance. I need the outlet. So there always needs to be, there can be really intense work, but then there also has to be kind of personal challenges and personal flow state maybe to release all of that and
Sure.
enjoy life.
So what came next for you? Because you get through your AFF, you decide you've got to go back, and then the drop zone romance starts. I mean, where's it go from there?
So we kept that up for maybe just under a year. Realized that there was a closer drop zone in Harare, so started jumping in Harare sometimes. And then decided I was going to take a break from living in Africa, and Bruins and I decided to come back to the States. He had never traveled to the States, and but the drop zone would always get the USPA parachutists, the magazines. So they were all over the drop zone at Ground Rush in Namibia, um, and the dream was to get to the World Free Fall Convention. And so we timed it so that we got back to the States in time to hit Rantoul. But I had to get a B license first so that
Sure.
I would be able to jump. So we flew back. My folks are based out of Washington State. So we flew back to Washington, and there's a little drop zone out in Bremerton called Blue Skies that helped me take my Namibian A license and get me a USB license so that I would be qualified to jump. And it was the first year that the Free Fall Convention was in Rantoul, which is 2002.
Hmm.
And Bruins had just gotten his tandem rating, and so we kind of went looking to see if there were any opportunities for him to throw some tandems while he was in the States. And that's when we met someone who said that there might be an opportunity in Vegas.
It it blows me away that you end up having this amazing start to your experience in skydiving, and then bring back with you to the States someone that's never traveled there, never been before, and somehow you end up in Sin City of all places. I mean, I mean, what did he think of all that? He must have been kind of blown away.
Yeah, we didn't go straight to Vegas, so we met some cool people at the Free Fall Convention. We checked out the ranch and a swooping comp in New York, and then we kind of made our way down to land in Florida and across to Skydive, Arizona. So we hit some drop zones along the way, and
Mm.
then made our way to Vegas, which was yeah, a bit crazy, but also awesome. And we met you and got to go out to Red Rocks and go rock climbing and
Yep,
yeah.
yep. You know, it's wild that skydiving seems to have shrunk the planet so dramatically. You know, as soon as you get into the community, you realize just how many people from how many crazy different places you know. And I didn't even realize that you and I had met before because we bumped into each other completely randomly here in Helsinki, of all places, because our good friend Jason Maletsky was here visiting me and getting his tattoo bodysuit finished. Randomly, he's like, "Hey, by the way, can we stop by thus and such a place? I've got some old friends that just happen to be coming back from Lapland." And I think we were probably, what, 45 minutes into the conversation when you're kind of, "Were you in Vegas?"
Well, I think you mentioned the show, and I had listened to a couple of the podcasts before. I think the one with Jay, I'd somehow followed uh, some kind of thread and gotten to one of the episodes that Jay was on, and then kind of looked who else you had and listened to Rich Grimm because I went to one of his Boogies and Belize, and he's awesome.
Yep.
Um, and then so when I met you, I don't know if you were a pilot yet.
No.
Um, but something on the show, I don't know, I think you mentioned stripping in Vegas or something, and I was like, wait, what's this guy's name? Dean. Was that? And so then when we were sitting there at the coffee shop in Helsinki, and you guys mentioned something about the show, because at first we thought Jay was staying with his tattoo artist. And so we thought he was meeting his tattoo artist friend. And then when you said, no, I'm not, we're just old friends. And then into the conversation, something about the show came up. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, because you had a hat on and now you have this gray beard. And I was kind of looking at you and I was
Right.
like, are you in Vegas?
Well, it's
And you
it's
only remember me because I had a Namibian boyfriend.
that is absolutely what sparked it. I have to admit it. I won't lie. I won't bullshit. But then I completely remembered after the fact. As soon as we got talking, I'm like, "No shit." And then it dawned on me, it's actually not here. It's in another room, but I have a beautiful picture of an outside video that was shot of me shooting video and Bruns doing a tandem and over Las Vegas. And I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me. This is insane."
Yeah.
I
Is it
mean,
me? Because we did some promotional shots, and that was the second tandem I did in my life.
it could be. I'll have to take a look. I'm not sure, but it absolutely could be.
That would be funny.
Well, and because I remember so vividly, especially with him, because he's super friendly and very outgoing. And I remember when he was getting ready to leave Vegas, when you guys were getting ready to leave Vegas, I was bummed that he was going because we had quite a bit of fun. And he's like, "You're going to have to come out to Namibia sometime. It is stunningly beautiful." And of course, I'm like, "Absolutely, that would be amazing." And then, of course, both of us walked away having gotten no contact information from each other and nothing, literally nothing whatsoever. So it was just yeah, I had a lot of fun with this Namibian tandem instructor once, and I have no idea how to get a hold of him.
Just to go. He's still in Up. He's not working at the DZ anymore, but I'm sure he'd love to see you.
Oh, that's so crazy. That's so crazy. So back to you and the jumping though. So you go from getting your Namibian A license and now you start jumping in the States. Was it a bit of culture shock coming to the US, or was it just an easy transition into jumping in the US?
Um, I think the folks at Blue Sky made it really easy for me. I I had already I had already jumped in so many different places. I started jumping in Namibia. I was then jumping in Harare. Bruins came up. We did a jump out of a helicopter at Vic Falls. That was fun, getting civil aviation approval because there was no operation going on at the time.
Wait, you jumped over Vic Falls out of a helicopter?
Yeah.
I think I hate you a little bit.
They later started up an operation. I'm not sure if it's still going on or not.
Oh,
Um, but then I I actually had an HIV conference where I was giving a talk in Barcelona when we left Africa, and so we made a pit stop and went to Emporia Brava to do some jumps. He was really bummed they wouldn't let him jump his stiletto because we didn't have cypresses in our rig, so he was bummed that they gave him a student bus to drive. So I already, even though I had under 40 jumps, I had already jumped in a bunch of different places. And yeah, the folks at Blue Skies were super helpful and took me out and did my water training and got me all set up to go to
Nice.
Rantoul, which was wild. Having the ability to jump all of those different planes, and it was my first balloon, it's my second helicopter with kind of a roller coaster ride before you get to the jumping point.
Yep.
Gosh, biplane. Oh my gosh, that was epic. Um, so I'm doing all of this with under 100 jumps. I mean, every jump was just blowing my mind away. And we had to stop because we were running out of money. Because of
I
course you want
bet.
to do all the cool stuff that you can't do anywhere else. Oh, and then the high altitude jumps.
Yep.
I was just learning how to sit fly because Bruins was a free flyer. And so as soon as I was kind of past all my belly stuff, he was like, all right, now you learn to free fly. And I remember that high altitude jump, free fly, like sit flying. Oh my God, my arms were so tired when I got down. I couldn't lift.
It's amazing, especially with something like that, just how long free fall is. You try and explain to somebody that doesn't jump, and you're like, no, I could have read War and Peace on the way down. It took so damn long.
Well, and your altimeter is, kind of going around like this, and you're like, oh, this makes me really nervous.
Oh yeah, no, I remember the first high altitude jump I ever did was over Gene in Las Vegas, and I was quite low time as well, and really nervous. And my buddy says, "Don't worry about the altimeter until the second time it goes through four." And you're like, "Oh shit, yeah, we are that high up, aren't we?" And that's really it's an experience, right? Because your clock, even though I was a young jumper, your clock is just completely off, and your body is screaming, "Fucking do something!"
Yeah, yeah, that was a
Wild.
good time.
Wild. So from there, where did skydiving go? Because I mean, it sounds to me like you had a hell of a balance between a very intense work life and then a very intense personal life.
Well, so I took almost a year off, and then I ended up going back to Africa. Burns and I broke up.
It
He went
happens.
back to Namibia. Yeah, it does. Yeah, he went back to Namibia, and then I went back to work. I moved to Rwanda. So again, no kind of active drop zone in Kigali, Rwanda. So skydiving took a bit of a back burner. And then I realized that there were annual boogies on the coast in Kenya, in Diani Beach.
Yeah,
And so then I started kind of going to those, which were super fun. But it took me like 8 years to do my first 200 jumps.
really.
It wasn't until I moved back to the States in 2007 that I started jumping kind of more regularly than I was jumping either at Powson or at Snohomish outside of Seattle,
Okay.
and kind of got a crew and was doing regular jumps and yeah,
And again, a stunningly beautiful place. But I mean, even though it took you that long to get your first 200 jumps, talk about the definition of quality over quantity. I mean, come on. You start in Africa and then work your way from, Washington State to Rantoul and all over the place and Imperia Brava in Spain. I mean, come on. You have a like a laundry list of people's top 10 places to go jump.
pretty cool.
Right? Who cares that you only did 200 jumps in 8 years? Where you got to do them and what you got to do. I mean, jumping biplanes and helicopters and over Victoria Falls? Come on.
Yeah, it was a good way to come up. It's been a while though. It'll be what, 30 years in 2 years, so 28 years since the first tandem.
Isn't that mental? I know it. I'm the
Yeah, it
same. I
is.
mean, I did my first tandem in early 96. So,
Okay.
same thing. And I can't believe it because it's still like maybe it's just the sport and how intense the things that we are do, but the memories are still so vivid. Like when I'm old and gray and I can't remember a damn other thing, I'm still going to remember most of the really cool skydives I made.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a while since I've had an air bath, and I'm hoping to get back in the sky later this month. I've got my rig. I had to buy a new Cypress, get a repack. Hoping to go back to Emporia Brava at the end of the month and
Oh, that's awesome.
Get an air bath. Yeah.
I'm kind of the same. I had a surgery a couple of years back, on two surgeries actually, on my neck, and it's finally gotten to the point where I think I'm going to be able to jump again. I have a checkup coming to make sure that everything's good and airworthy, and I am kind of desperate now to get back in the air, especially as the weather here in Finland is starting to improve.
Some light coming.
Yes, yeah, it's getting a little lighter. It's warming up some, which is good. So,
Nice.
with all the travel and all that stuff, did you ever find it a strain trying to balance such intense work? I mean, because especially with the work that you've done and the topics that you've brought up that you have worked on, this is really pretty hardcore stuff. I mean, is it just a relief to be able to get out and jump? Was it a strain to be able to make that happen, or was it an easy balance?
Oh, it was an easy balance. I think I needed it. You know, when you're jumping, whether it's skydiving or base jumping, you're not thinking about anything else. You know, you're not thinking about the stressful thing at work, or you're not thinking about the fight with your partner or your messy house or anything else. You're in the moment and you're doing the thing. And I think for me that was I needed that balance.
I'd imagine, well, especially considering some of the problems that you were tackling were problems on a global scale. I mean, I can't quite wrap my head around that. And it's actually one of my favorite things, especially about the podcast, is being able to find out things about people that I never would have had a clue. Because to me, all the people that I know in the sport, they're just skydivers. And a lot of them are very much drop zone friends. And so you know them when they show up at the drop zone for first load, and then you hang out for a while afterwards. But you never get seriously deep into what they do. And then I find out that this friend is a doctor and this friend's a PhD in whatever, and you do all the stuff that you do, and you're just like, oh shit, you guys like have really intense lives outside of just jumping out of airplanes.
Yeah, it is cool. I mean, you find that both in skydiving and base jumping, I think. But I think the sky binds you, you know,
Yeah.
no matter what walk of life you come from, you just kind of put it aside and the bonds are strong.
Yeah, I saw a Facebook post. It's probably been a bunch of years now, of a friend in jumping that was kind of brokenhearted, putting a post out saying, "Hey, I'm having to put family first, and I don't think that in good conscience I can continue to keep jumping out of airplanes when I need to raise these kids." And you could tell he was making the responsible choice and the right choice for him, but that he was also a bit heartbroken about it. And the responses that he got to that post, mine included, were, dude, even if you never touch another rig and you never make another skydive, you're a jumper for life. I mean, you're part of this community and this crew, and that doesn't stop just because you're not jumping anymore, which is an amazing part about our sport.
I love it. The family is so strong and it just doesn't matter. There's no judgment. There's just so much acceptance, which is
Yeah.
so awesome.
Well, now for you, even more so in the base jumping community, which I mean, I have countless friends that are in it, but I am not a part of that community myself. And so I can pretend to know the bond that's in that sport, but I'd imagine that it's got to be even more intense than the one that skydiving holds with people.
I think so. But maybe part of it is that um base jumping got me in a way that skydiving didn't.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so I moved back to the States after Rwanda and was there for almost 5 years. And then I had an opportunity to go to WHO and live in Switzerland. And I had just started base jumping kind of the year before. And, I mean, Switzerland and Norway are kind of like the meccas, right? And so I had thought that I would go back to Africa after having a bit of a break, and then this opportunity came up in Switzerland, and it was like, yeah, no, I'm going to Switzerland. I got to check this out. And yeah, I mean, it was every weekend for the better part of a decade. It was an obsession.
Wow.
Um, and it was intense, and you find your crew and your people who kind of have the same mentality. We were known as the fun fleets.
I love it.
we kind of gathered around our friend Lisa, who ran Valley Base Gear after her husband died, and so we were the VBG fun fleets because I mean there were no, we were not professionals. We were the weekenders, coming from kind of different places and meeting in Lauterbrunnen on the weekends and jumping our asses off. And it was, yeah, it was an amazing time to be in the sport.
Now, when was the first base jump, and what was the spark that made you decide to do that?
Mm. So it's interesting. The first time I even kind of realized that base jumping existed was when Bruins and I were traveling around the States. We had a weather day in Paris, and we were just kind of sitting at the bar, and they had some footage on from jumps into the Cave of the Swallows in
Mm,
Mexico,
yeah.
um, maybe some at Angel Falls as well. And it was just like, oh, wow, you can do that. Um, and I've always had a bit of a thing with heights, that not afraid, like not vertigo, but that I shouldn't go too close to the edge of something because there's just some pull, some draw or fascination with the edge that I might not just be able to hold myself from throwing myself off.
Right.
And and so it always kind of stuck in the back of my head, but again, is not something that you think that you're going to pick up in Africa. And I hadn't really looked into how you get into base jumping. And then when I was living in Washington State and jumping, a couple of friends did a weekend course and showed me their pictures, and I was like, uh, yeah, I need to check that out. And yeah, so I did a first jump course with Tom Aiello at the Twin Falls in Idaho at the bridge, and yeah, then it was off to the races. Unfortunately, one of my best friends who had just gotten into died base jumping about a year, no, sorry, about a month after I did my first jump course. And that really pulled me back because I just thought, she became a rigger so that she would pack her base rig better. She was better at everything than I was. And I just thought to myself, wow, if that's what happens to her, why would I think that the end would be any different for me? On the week that she died, I had ordered a base rig from somebody and it arrived, and it arrived and I just kind of put it in the back of my closet, and I didn't look at it all summer. But I had signed up for Bridge Day, before she died, and it was kind of in the back of my brain, am I going to go? Am I not going to go? If I go, I need to go back to the bridge and get current and feel comfortable that I can look after myself,
Hmm.
set my deep break settings. Um, and there's just something there that I just wasn't willing to let it go. I needed to explore it. And so, yep, drove myself back to the bridge, sat in another course with Tom Aiello. He helped me set my deep break settings, and yep, off I went to Bridge Day.
Yeah, I mean, when base jumping entered my consciousness, I had just become a dad. So it kind of gave me a very easy out, right? Because I was still relatively new in skydiving, but I was working in skydiving. I'd known about injuries. There'd been a death on the drop zone that I was in, so I knew that there were risks involved. But of course, we also know that skydiving, for the most part, if you're not pushing the limits, is a pretty damn safe sport. And so you start to get this rose-colored impression of what all the air sports are like. And a lot of my friends were base jumpers, and a guy by the name of Will Forte used to make, and you'll recognize the name of the videos. He used to make the Lemmings videos for Bridge Day. And he actually hired me to go with him to film the landings from Bridge Day one year. I don't remember what year it was. And I was still, even though I had just become a dad, I was still kind of thinking, oh, maybe this would be a thing. Right up until I stood at the base of that bridge and filmed a dozen people in the trees and people slamming into rocks and broken legs and mayhem, because this is probably 97 or 98. So just real cowboy country. The old white bearded guy that used to jump the ripcord rig and jump off and have to wiggle his back to get it to clear, he was still jumping. So it was then that I was watching this. And after that day, I walked away going, okay, check. I don't ever need to do that shit. Like, wow. And of course, you have this warped imagination that somehow, because you're not going to base jump, that you've separated yourself from that sport and that the mayhem that happens isn't going to touch you. And then you realize, oh, no, no, I am intricately linked to the base jumping community for the rest of my life because so many of my friends are active base jumpers. And you know how it is. I mean, at some point you have that moment where you have to decide, is this me or is this not me? And then you just have to accept what comes then. And unfortunately, that means that you lose a bunch of friends, but you also get to live that extra bit of life. So I understand the pull, and I definitely get why you got back in it. And I'm very glad that I never did it myself because I know I would have loved it.
It's interesting that you say that because I think the risk benefit ratio, it changes. It changes a lot depending on kind of the circumstances in your life, where you are. Um, and I think it's something that you have to pay attention to. You know, you can't just get carried along with everybody else. And there's a few things that kind of led to me pulling back. I mean, I probably have 750 base jumps.
Mm,
I was wingsuit flying. I had pretty big margins of error. Like I don't need to push it. I don't need to jump new exits. For me, it was just enough to be in the sky.
sure,
Just for those moments, you know, where there's no past, there's no future. You're just absolutely right there in that moment, enjoying life. But I found when my husband and I got together, um, and then when we got married, I lost a bit of a taste for it.
mm,
It took me so damn long to find him. We didn't
right,
get together till I was 45, and I just felt like there's so many things that I want to experience with him and do together that some of the base jumping stuff just then wasn't worth it, you know?
sure, sure.
And I just yeah needed some perspective, and I want to get back into it. I think I've put the wingsuit aside. I don't think I'll base jump the wingsuit anymore, but we have onesies, and I'm looking forward to kind of over the next couple of months skydiving that. So I feel comfortable in that and going back up to Norway maybe this summer and doing some jumps. But you know, the easy fun stuff with my friends and spend a day, you know, in the mountains hiking and
Sure.
get down to the car quick, you know?
Sure. You know, it's funny, especially in speaking about perspectives and stuff, that we casually talk about, you know, the mellow bass jumps as if there is such a thing, right? And to you and me, that statement, anybody listening, that statement probably makes perfect sense because after all the years and as popular and as prevalent as bass jumping has become, it's very easy to say, oh, no, no, that's a mellow one. They just jumped off a Brento and tracked away from the wall and opened their parachute at a reasonable altitude. But to the rest of the world, we're batshit crazy.
Well,
Wh-
yeah.
Which I still love that perspective. I really do. But I also love knowing, in regard to base jumping, the friends that I have that have longevity in the sport, although to the outside observer look crazy, these are some of the most safety oriented, detail oriented people I've ever met. Um, which makes me feel better because again, I'm tied to the sport whether I want to be or not. And just like you, I've said goodbye to more than a few friends, and so you're always very aware of what it goes on. And I gave myself permission a long time ago that once my daughter reached a certain age, I could go out and do it. And now she's 27 and a working attorney, and now I'm just a chicken shit. Now I don't have the stones to do it anymore.
The stones are the desire, you know? It's,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know,
Same at this point, honestly. And although I know, I'm sure I would love it and I'm sure it would be this amazing experience, it's just, yeah, I'm happy that I made the decision that I did, and I'm happy to live vicariously through my friends that still do it. Like I'm sure
yeah.
you saw the event that just took place not that long ago in Dubai. Everybody, Right.
Oh yeah, there was some jelly over that.
Oh my God. And these are
That
all
looked sick.
right. I mean, I'm sure
That's
it
who's
could.
who of base jumping.
I mean, the Moab crew, and so Katie and all that crew were out there, and all my friends from Dubai that I know that are doing that, and it just part of me is like, oh, what I wouldn't give. That would be one of the base jumps I'd feel pretty good about. But I had so much fun watching these different videos of all these people, and I'm like fully fanboying out, going, oh my God, I know that guy, I know that guy because it was so fucking cool to see, and they were having so much fun,
Yeah, the footage is beautiful. It looked
right?
really epic. Yeah, there was definitely some FOMO going on there.
Oh yeah, just the level of passion and enjoyment that's involved, and so I can absolutely understand the draw and the attraction, especially to events like that. But more than that, the community, which I'm lucky enough to say I kind of get to hang on to coattails and still be a part of to some degree, which is nice.
Absolutely. Well, that's like your home hood, right?
Yeah,
How long
yeah,
were you
yeah.
in Dubai?
I was there for a decade. So yeah,
Wow.
that's I mean, I was there when they did the Princess Tower jumps, which is the tallest residential building that's in the marina. And that was literally two buildings down from the building that I lived in. And they had that event for I want to say like a week or 10 days. And it almost got to be I'd be out for a morning run and you would hear the crack of the canopies opening up, and it was happening so much I didn't even bother to look up. Because I'm like, oh, they're just jumping again, you know. And meanwhile, it's Roberto Mancino and the whole Maktoum crew are just doing insanely bizarre shit and sucking it nasty low and having a blast. And here I am jogging around the marina, going, yeah, whatever, have fun. So too cool. So you've also, on top of the work that you've done all over the place and the jumping, that you've traveled the whole world. I mean, you guys randomly just happened to be the people that JMO was meeting, but you were up in Lapland, right?
Yeah, we did a sled dog trip, which is
I mean,
something
come
I've been
on.
wanting to do for a while. Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cold.
Yeah.
We, we managed to pick a day that was like minus 20 out or minus 28, and we
Yep.
did something like 40 Ks in the dog sled that day. Yeah, it was cold.
That's next
I mean, they
level.
give you boots and things, and we had like the warmers in the boots, but it's just not made for that
No.
level. And your hands trying to clip and unclip the dogs, and
Oh,
yeah.
I bet. I mean, my wife and I were up there for New Year's, and we were there till I want to say the 5th or 6th of January, and it dipped down to 35 below. But we were also drinking heavily in a cabin with a fire going for a solid 2 weeks. So we weren't,
And you were lucky to get epic, epic Boreal, Northern
auroras.
Lights.
Yeah, oh, they were. I'll tell you what, and that only happened on New Year. It was the New Year's Eve. They just went off. So it was welcome to 2025. So it was proper.
That's awesome. We spent a
Yeah,
couple of nights in one of the like glass igloos, like right on
nice.
the river up there. And we got an amazing sunset, but we did not get lucky enough to see the lights,
What
unfortunately.
that just means you're gonna have to come back.
Absolutely.
So any big trips in the future? You said you're kind of itching to jump again. Is it going to be in the States or you're in Spain now?
Yeah, I'm based just south of Barcelona. I'm gonna head up to Emporia Brava and just get current, do some skydives, get happy on my onesie, and then trying to figure out how to get up to it's a non-heli boogie this year. It's really sad, but SBK base have kind of sold their operation, and the helis were super expensive this year, so there's no heli boogie, but trying to put some folks together, and there's a GoFundMe to do a hiking uh, kind of around the same time in June. So I'm gonna try and make it up there for
Awesome.
that.
Awesome. So I always ask people as we're getting towards the end of things to give advice or tips, and usually it's for newer jumpers or older jumpers. But for you, advice for people that want to get out and have the kind of adventures and see the types of places that you've done, like for the travel and jumping around the world and internationally and stuff like that. For people that are listening to this and they've only done a couple of jumps at their Cessna drop zone in the Midwest somewhere, like, do you have tips? Where should people start? Like, how do you get out there and see it all?
Let's get a passport and get out there. I mean, the family is the family. It doesn't matter which country you're in,
Yep,
we like recognizes like. So yeah, just get out there. There's drop zones everywhere. You just kind of have to look for it. I mean, I don't know if it's still the case because I haven't gotten parachutist in years, but there used to be a list of all of the different international drop zones in the parachutist, and now everything's on the web. So yeah, just go do it. Don't be afraid. Put yourself out there. Only good happens. And if you get a learning experience along the way, then you learn
sure,
something.
sure.
Um,
Well, and I'm sure you're like me. I mean, after this many years in the sport, I sincerely don't believe there's a country in the world where I couldn't find a couch.
yeah, I mean, Iran might be a little hard.
Yeah, okay, so a country I
Just
want to
just
go
being
to.
in there. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I think I've got like 80 countries or something under my belt and hope to do more. The world's a fascinating place, and I think the more open you are to seeing things from different angles and not judging, but just kind of figuring out why people see things the way they do, the experiences that you have and the things that you see and the people that you meet are just life-changing.
Yeah. Well, and I would imagine too, especially with your line of work, you get to see a level of humanity that a lot of people don't get to see, and a level of concern and caring that you're giving out, you're probably getting back just as much. And so it's got to be incredibly rewarding to do that. And then, of course, to go throw yourself out of a helicopter over Angel or over Victoria Falls does not suck.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, no, I mean, look, the years that I lived in Africa were incredible. And, you come back and people will say, wow, you've given so much. But honestly, I got back more than I could ever have given in
Right.
life experiences and in friends, yeah, just connection
Sure.
and knowing that those connections transcend countries and nations.
Sure. Well, and I'm sure you're the same. Even just getting a random message now and then from people that you've crossed paths with along the way, or being able to offer a helping hand to someone along the way, or for me, becoming a tandem instructor turned out to be my favorite way to skydive. Not because the jumps itself are fun, but because I get to share an experience with somebody that'll never remember my name and couldn't pick me out of a lineup, but they'll remember that 6 minutes that we shared together in the air, probably above a lot of things, and it's a privilege. And I'm sure it's got to be the same with you. The help that you give is more for you than anything else because you get so much out of it.
True.
Yeah,
It's true. I think figuring out the way that makes you happy to give back, to give something to this world, whether it's tandems and the joy that you're giving somebody in that experience that they'll remember for the rest of their life, or it's working on global health, or whatever it is. I think it's for me, it's the connection
sure.
and having that sense of purpose.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, this is a perfect example because our paths cross so briefly in the big scheme of things, and that here we are having another great conversation. And I take such joy in being able to do these podcasts because, are you kidding? Just who would think? Who
What,
would think?
23 years later?
Right? Just randomly end up in a warehouse style place in Helsinki having cappuccinos and street food. Asian street food in Helsinki randomly. Yeah. just fucking fantastic. I
Well,
absolutely
and we
love it.
had no idea we were even going to run into Jay there. It just happened to be a friend in common that we were like, hey, look at this. And she was like, oh, I got the same picture from Jay just
Yep.
yesterday. I'm like, what? Jay, where's Jay?
Yep. Well, even that randomly, Jay and I had crossed paths a dozen times over all the years, but Jay was Jason Maletsky of the PD team, and he was like on another fucking level, and not more than a little bit intimidating because he was a rock star at the time. And so, even though we'd had brief conversations, I would never have called us friends. And then through the podcast, I ended up reaching out to him to get a first interview a few years back, and the next thing I know, I'm getting a message from one skydiver to another going, hey, I'm coming to Helsinki to get some tattoo work done. Have you got maybe a couch I can crash on? And that turned into, well, Jay, hours and hours and hours and hours of conversations and cold dip and competition and all this stuff, which formed a friendship that technically started in the late 90s. So it's just been this really cool process, and it's all because I decided one day I was going to sit down and talk to a bunch of people on Zoom.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if you're ever in Barcelona, give us a shout.
And the next time you are this way, which is not going to be that far off if you're coming to Norway, we're going to have to figure something out.
Sounds great.
Erin, I cannot
Thanks
thank
for
you
having me.
so much. It was absolutely wonderful catching up to you, and I can't wait to hear about you getting back in the air and jumping off the next cliff or out of the next helicopter.
And same for you. I hope that that neck injury is ready to go.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's hope. Okay, well, you take care.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.